Hello and welcome, this is Joel Loukus. I directed Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis concept trailer. You're probably wondering what exactly an encomium is. An encomium is a formal declaration of high praise, and I think that sums up most of the attitude that we had about this project. What you're looking at right now is the opening scene from the game itself, the original source material. The game was released in 1992 by LucasArts, of course. Part of the reason that it has endured for so long with fans is because of its multiple path gameplay. The game is also well known for its excellent storyline, which very much lent itself to our purpose, making a fan concept trailer. A good example for how direct our inspiration from the game was is our poster, created by Matthew Clements, which is a direct transposition of the original box art with our own footage. There was also a 4-part comic book based on the same storyline. The comic book was new to me, but when I took a look at it, it had some excellent visuals that actually trounced a lot of the scenes in the game. So here we have the first shot. This is the first scene that includes Sophia in the game, and it's also where you learn about Atlantis. I felt like it was a good starting point for the audience to experience in a trailer. Everyone involved thought it would be a good idea to show Atlantis in the manner in which Sophia depicted it in her presentation, so that it would contrast with the scenes later. As if you hadn't guessed, most of the shots in the film are done on chroma key screen. A few were done as luma keys, such as the audience members in the opening shot. This next scene, which was one of the few location shoots, was shot day for night, and you can see here in the wide shot that there was a city composited into the skyline. Also, a little detail that I'm very proud of is the light, which actually interacts with the building in the background. Something I'm very happy that no one noticed is that Indiana Jones and Sophia never actually met on set. In the end, we had something like 5 or 6 people playing Indiana Jones at one point or another, although all shots revealing his face were played by Philip. And let's hear a big huzzah for volumetrics and making bad models look a lot better than they are. This was actually one of my first 3D animations, and it was really a learning process. Previous to this project, most of my effects work was being done in the 2-dimensional or 2.5D realm. And although this is a terrible shot of me, it is an excellent example of the philosophy behind the composites that were done in this project. By having multiple plates, it's very easy to adjust the depth of field to make it look very realistic, and much more like it was shot with a camera rather than put together by some geek in a room. Which would be me, but moving on. This was actually a happy accident, so to speak. We went out to a park and we shot a bunch of pickups, basically just to get a little bit of actual footage that was shot on location in there. And we shot just random stuff, really. And I saw this clearing in the trees, and I had James walk down, and I wasn't sure that I was going to use it, but we got it into post, and it turned out really good. I think I'll point out that there's nothing in the game like this at all. This is probably the shot that I took the most creative license on. A number of these models are actually free models from turbosquid.com, and I recommend that to anybody looking for resources. And this was on the same day that we had the Mayan Temple accidental great shot. And this was a blast. Thought I would put this in here for everyone to enjoy. And if you watch closer, you're about to see James sock Bill in the face.
Alright, make it look real, guys. I'm real close.
Which probably would only happen in fantasy, because Bill's been studying martial arts for something like a decade.
Rolling.
This was a shot that never made the final product. I was hoping to have a little more action in the middle, where, you know, more fighting, and it would kind of break, and you would have this just really quickly, you know, classic Indiana Jones versus a group of people, and then there's a big grunt, and
Arabs don't wear this. Yeah, they do.
And there's James acting a lot like a producer. But we stuck Bill. We put Bill in front of this, in front of the screen, and we told him to do some stuff, and you know, it's probably usable, but it turns out that we just didn't have room for it in the edit. But regardless, his levity on set is usually an asset.
Alright. This direction. There. Alright. Go for it.
This next shot is probably my favorite in the whole project. James wanted to do a whip swinging shot. He felt that it was necessary to sell the concept properly. And he had this idea of going out and using the swing against the green screen. I was kind of about it. I didn't think it was going to work. Well, we went out and we shot him swinging, and it looked okay, and I wasn't sure. But I wanted to do a hanging, and I felt like that would be a lot easier. And we wound up using both. And it was really uncharted territory for me. But I had a blast coming up with the technique. And the shot wound up being a really fun compilation of turbulent displacement and particle effects, stock photography, basic motion graphics. I think it's a real gem in the project as being one of the most difficult shots to take from concept to completion. And James certainly gets the credit for being ambitious in that regard. This is also one of the most complicated shots, mostly because of the number of plates involved, and James is actually in this shot about 7 times. And here we have Miss Tania Rosa Bindhoff, acting all on her lonesome, as she had to do for much of the production. And what Algiers scene would be complete without James wearing a diaper, so that we can post it on the internet. Actually, with this many plates, it became necessary to count, so that each member of the crowd would react to the explosion at the same moment. 8, 9, 10, 11... I have to say that while I'm relatively pleased with the way that this shot turned out, it's probably the one that I would most like to redo. Basically on account for its rather bland composition, and I think that we could do some 3D elements in the town now that would probably really spice it up. That said, the transition between this shot and the following shot, the Batcave, is a very good example of something that we were trying to do with the trailer, which was to cut it like a traditional trailer, the way that the Indiana Jones trailers were cut back in the 80s. Instead of having constant high action, you would see little blips of interesting content, combined with mysterious storyline elements. Many of the shots weren't particularly transitioned. You felt like you were looking at little scenes, though not really understanding them fully. But what you're looking at right now is actually the shot breakdown as it appears on my personal showreel. This was one of the last shots that I completed for this project, and I was very proud of myself for making a custom particle system, and the 2.5D elements look very nice here, so found a place on my personal demo reel. There were elements of the game that James and I both wanted to include, and we were really sad to not be able to do them. This included a couple of lines and a couple of elements like the amber fish and the orichalcum. This is one such element that we were able to include. As the player approaches Atlantis in the game, 3 stones are aligned to operate machinery and open doors and do various tasks, and this is a very big part of the second half of the game. I also wanted to continue the sound of the stone discs sliding against each other through the Atlantis montage, as a subtle way to build tension. If you listen very carefully, you can hear that in the background in the edit. Tension eventually climaxes with a subtle reveal of the God Machine. The background played is a matte painting from Matthew Clements, with a number of overlays including stock elements, particle effects, and live-action plates. The shot is easily the best combination of both the comic book representation and the game. The levitation was our own element, which was basically just James attempting to stand on one foot in riding boots, which he had a hard time doing. But there are enough other elements in the shot that it's not noticeable. A lot of the shorter shots were a lot more straightforward, but we were able to do them with actors on their own schedules. The Uberman actor was actually across state lines for us, but we only had to shoot with him for 1 day. James and I were both very big on doing the lava machine from the game, but when we saw the comic book rendition, we really saw that as a must-do. This was the first completed shot. That's Matt wearing my jacket, holding my .22 rifle with an apron wrapped around it. Oh, and a Russian hat from James. And that's about it, really. The camel shot always makes me crack up because there's no footage in it. It's basically just some pictures of camels animated against a sunset. So again, this was basically James'
Alright.
idea. I was very
Company
iffy on
now.
it. That's Bill and Matt holding up the green screen behind him. And we had to do a lot of takes of this, but eventually we got one. The amount of time in the swing is so short that the footage of him swinging both forward and backward were used for just the forward swing. In order to do that, it had to be rotoscoped for the full shot. We had a fan on set for this shot, which really helped sell it. And big fans of the game will know that there is an ending inferred by the last shot in the trailer, which is 100% purposeful. I was really attempting to do this shot more procedurally with fewer photographic elements, the result of which a lot of people compare to Sky Captain, which I have mixed feelings about because I rather hate that movie. Well, if you've made it this far, I'll give you a little reward. A lot of people have suggested that we do a longer form project, which we have no intention of doing with Indiana Jones. But we are planning on doing something with another Scum game, and I won't reveal which one, but watch our website for updates on future such projects. And thanks for watching.